Good morning on Monday, the 30th of December 2024. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia and therefore coffee time on West Coast Radio with me, Peter Gomez. And coffee time is brought to you in association with partners led by WAVE, the U.S. Poultry and Egg Council and Gam Food Trading, Easy Financial Services, Staff Africa Global, Bloombank Africa Global Properties, the Gambia Experience, and Bakadaji Hotel.
Did you know service plots are now available at Baki? Welcome to Baki, Taft City's fourth residential estate.
Yes, service plots available at Baki with 3 years interest-free payment plan with a minimum deposit of only $94,000, and it will come with fence plot, water reticulation, electricity, solar street lights, and bituminized internal roads. Are you ready to build your dream home for yourself?
Call us now.
And coming up over the next 1 hour, the ruling National People's Party continues to deny allegations its leader's victory in the last presidential election was illegally secured. The victory of the president is as clear as white, a senior NPP official tells me. We'll hear more from him later on. The Secretary General and leader of the United Democratic Party has used the party's biennial congress to praise the resilience of its supporters. And a week after his own party congress in rural Gambia, the Secretary General and leader of Sobea is live on Coffee Time to discuss his budding political career and the way the country has been and continues to be run since independence. Also on the program, the front pages of Monday's 5 papers. Thanks for joining us. Less than 48 hours from the new year, 2025. Essa Mbye Faal is our guest. He's in the studio. Thanks for being early and punctual.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me. On Coffee Time with Peter, I have been served with coffee, but not coffee with Peter. But all the same, thank you very much, my brother, for having me.
If it wasn't for this appointment, this rendezvous, where would Essa Faal be at this hour?
At this hour, I would have been with bereaved members of the Sobea party. I take this opportunity to express my sincere condolences to Binta Barry, who's the Deputy Secretary General of APP Sobea. Her father answered the call of the Almighty yesterday afternoon. Funeral arrangements are on course, and he's due to be taken on to the next path today at 10 a.m. at a burial in Birkama.
May his soul rest in peace.
Indeed.
Essa Mbye Faal is with us for the entire hour, but of course, in between, we have other things to do. I'll bring you the newspaper front pages right after this.
Looking for an establishment where value for money and unrivaled services with admirable turnaround time is guaranteed? The Port of Banjul is the perfect place for you. A vital gateway for trade offering connections to numerous global destinations. With improved infrastructure combined with a flexible tariff, the Port of Banjul remains a vital node in maritime trade. Along with its dedicated workforce, efficient service delivery, technology-inspired innovation, and an impressive record in handling all types of cargo, the Port of Banjul is also widely acknowledged as one of the safest ports on the continent with no history of piracy. As a major player in the region's maritime trade, accounting for 90% of all imports and exports, we are more than just a transit point, but a vital cog in the global trade sphere. Come experience a hassle-free fast customs clearance inspired by our simplified trade documentation procedures, safe and efficient cargo and vessel handling. The Port of Banjul offers prompt, reliable and value for money service, and customer satisfaction is guaranteed.
I'm about to take the listener through the front pages of today's papers. Now, shortly after you finished with the TRRC, you picked up a job with the ICC, the International Criminal Court. And some of us just assumed that you transitioned from here to living in Holland. Is that the case? And if it is, I mean, have you continued to read the Gambian newspapers online, or how do you get your news from the Gambia?
Thank you, Peter. I did not just move to Holland and abandon Gambia. No, I live in the Gambia. I go back and forth. In this modern world, one can work from anywhere.
Sure.
And with the position that I hold, I have the latitude to work from home, work remotely. All I need to do is to lead the team of lawyers and investigators and ensure that I bring about accountability for the Rohingya, for the crimes against humanity that are being committed against them. And that's what I've been doing since. I follow everything, Gambian politics. I follow developments through the news, through my daily contact with people in the Gambia. I mean, this is where I live, this is where I reside, this is where my everything is. So I routinely follow coffee time with Peter.
Thank you. That's very kind. Have we ever got frustrated by the internet situation in this country? I mean, those of us for whom life depends on the internet. I mean, we encounter that on daily basis.
I do say that I still cannot rationalize it. I mean, Gambia has one of the most expensive internet in the world, but also one of the most inefficient. Anywhere. I mean, sometimes in places, people will tell you, oh, let me go under the tree or near the tree so that I can get connection. I mean, this day and age, I think it's like we're being taken back to the stone age of internet, really, at the very early stages of internet. So I think there is much to be desired. Connectivity is a big problem. Something has to be done about it. And connection, no connection, network, no network, is making people lose money unnecessarily.
Absolutely. I was going to say, because of the inefficiency of the service, it's got to be expensive.
It is
because
expensive.
What you would have done ordinarily in 5 minutes, you probably need 5 hours to do. I mean, as we are finding out when we try to upload, the program on YouTube.
And for me, working from the Gambia sometimes is so frustrating because I often need to be on Teams meeting with my teams either in Bangladesh or in The Hague or other parts of the world where I may have deployed them.
Fantastic.
But it's basically almost impossible all the time.
We'll talk a bit more about your work with the IEC, but ICC, sorry. Yeah. But of course, the main thrust of our conversation is going to be on politics and your bid for the presidency. First up in the press review is Gambia Daily. Let's cooperate for nation's interest. H.E. Barrow urges press in first presidential media dinner. President warns non-performing SOEs amidst commission report. Nana holds consultation forum with NAMS on RISE project. Banjul Cultural Festival, a true reflection of Gambian values, tolerance and hospitality, according to VP. And Information Ministry initiates internship program for journalism students. The front cover of The Point reads this morning, Barrow promises support to strengthen media. Inmates lament struggles with bad healthcare and other issues. GRA's Dabo hailed as pivotal figure in Gambia's economic transformation. VP hails Banjul Festival as unique in reflecting broader West African heritage. And the editorial, Good Morning, Mr. President, opinionizes on the government and the media as partners in development and Gambia-Senegal relations. Now, Foraya's front page. Farmers still reluctant to sell their groundnuts at Secos. Artificial oyster production, a game changer for sustainable seafood in the Gambia. Domestic workers receive wages as low as $1,500 only, says President. NAO says patients of substance abuse cannot, or rather account for 58% of MCH. COVID-19 fallout, Lotto Gaming Gambia lays off 50 employees, and in its editorial, Foraya warns the foot soldiers of the Gano trade should put their house in order. Let's take a look at the front cover of The Voice. Barrow says The Voice was first to publish news story about his candidacy in 2016 poll. NPP debunks allegations of fraud in 2021 election. President Barrow calls for strong media-government relationship. CA's leadership accused of deviating from party's agenda. Charm says UDP will never recompense people's efforts and sacrifices. Mopse unveils nominees for National Teachers Prize Award 2024. And GID clears documents backlog. Finally, the Standard. Barrow says media is government's strongest partner. Spain arrests captains who killed 4 migrants on a boat from Gambia. NAMS least regarded by Gambians, according to Afrobarometer. NAMS to get $81.8 million in allowances in 2025. I think we should all try to become a NAM. Macky Sall steps down from his APR party. And that was your first look at Monday's newspapers. Our thanks to Foraya, The Standard, The Voice, Gambia Daily, and The Point. National Assembly members, over $80 million in allowances.
Well, Peter, this is why I call the system a rigged system. It's Yekalante. You know, when I made that pronouncement, I was attacked left, right, and center, including by those who are supporting the judges. But let's look at it. The president caused his salary to be augmented up to $500,000 a month, tax-free. He doesn't pay rent. He doesn't pay for fuel. In fact, about 30 or 35 million have been voted for fuel and lubricants. He doesn't pay for his medical bills. He does not pay for anything. We pay him $500,000 a month. Then the next thing, they move to the Speaker and the National Assembly. The National Assembly, the Speaker is given a salary pack of about $19 million for every 5 years. That includes a gratuity of 125% of the annual salary.
Oh, wow.
It's nice to be Speaker. But it is Yekalante. Then the next group of people for the Yekalante is the judges, the judiciary. They too have to have their fair share. And they provided a framework that would enable them to pay the judges almost $150,000 to $200,000 a month, because already a lot of them are on $100,000 or thereabout. So with all the packs that are going to come in, they would be at least over $100,000. I have no problem with the judges' salaries being augmented. They deserve it. They do the hard work. But my problem is the fairness in the system. How could anyone justify paying the president $500,000 and then you pay his driver, who's responsible for his security while he's traveling within the country, is paid $5,000? He pays no bills. This person on $5,000 would have to pay rent, would have to feed his family, would have to buy medicine. How on earth can we justify that? This is why I say that we need to rebuild a Gambia that is anchored on morality, a Gambia that is anchored on fairness. We have to have a just society. What we have is a skewed society, skewed in favor of those at the top. And this is a recent phenomenon. They have just changed the whole architecture to benefit themselves at the expense of the Gambian people, the people who work hard for the tax that is being paid by Gambians and businesses to build that national cake that they sit in parliament and this any which way they want. It is sad. It is unjust. We have to change this system.
Essa Mbye Faal is our guest for the whole hour. It's coffee time with Peter Gomez. He's just warming up, trust me.
Hello. If I own a business account with Trust Bank, how can I pay salaries to my employees to other banks?
Kindly send us an instruction through your corporate officer, that's your relationship manager. Send the instruction through a hard copy and we will kindly process for you. It is easy, it is simple. We will need few information from you. Each customer's name, the BBAN, and the bank it needs to be sent to. The BBAN should be complete and it should be in 18 digits. Please kindly forward this and then it will be processed the same day and all the funds will be credited in other banks as well. Thank you.
It's 8:30 in the morning on Monday, the 30th of December 2024 in the Gambia, and the program is Coffee Time, and I'm drinking coffee this morning with Essa Mbye Faal. One of the announcements there relates to taxing entertainment events. Do you think Gambian tax money is wisely spent by the government?
No, I don't think so at all. The Gambia is shackled by a culture of wasteful expenditure and mismanagement of public funds. That is what we have in the Gambia. It's a slash and burn economy. You tax and spend, but we don't spend wisely. Instead of prioritizing spending on the needs of the people, the masses, we are prioritizing spending on those at the top. And the budget, even though it is the spin doctors are touting it as the best budget Gambia has ever produced, I have never seen a government that goes out on the offensive promoting a budget like it's being done today, simply because the budget is the worst budget ever produced by this country. And let's go through the numbers. $100 million is reserved for the president on his travels. Do we need to spend that money on presidential travel? Let's look at the waste that recently happened at the UNGA. A small country like Gambia, it's a beggar economy. Every year we have billions of dollars in deficit. We go around passing the hat for donors to give us money to balance the budget. Yet we go to UN General Assembly with over 80 people. This is a political reward. This is political patronage to satisfy party supporters. But it was not in service of the Gambia government. I worked at the UN, at the United Nations. I was a counselor for the Gambia permanent mission. And I sat at the UN Security Council when Gambia was most needed in the world, because we were at the Security Council. Never did we have that size of a delegation. This is absolute waste. Look at Meet the People's Store. This is legalized waste that is given to the government. In 2020, how much was approved? I think it was 6 million. And how much was spent by the government? 20-something million. In 2021, they spent 40-something million. And in 2023, 10 million was approved for Meet the People's Store. The president spent $61 million, 61 million of taxpayer money just to go around and meet people in the country.
So you're suggesting the 50 million allocated for next year, 2025, is unrealistic?
Absolutely unrealistic. This is your National Mumbai Festival. I cannot call it any other way. The whole essence of Meet the People's Store is supposed to be a solemn program where the president goes around the country and meets the people and discuss issues of concern to those people and those areas. But what we see is a National Mumbai Festival wherein they gather, slaughter cows, and eat and launch a political campaign to further entrench themselves in power. That by itself is illegal, is unconstitutional, because the Constitution does not allow taxpayer money to be used for political campaign.
The UDP leader, Dabo, says if he becomes president, he will streamline it. He will narrow it down, and he will call it a listen to the people, not to go there and politicize the whole event. If you became president, what would you do with the Meet the People tour?
It would be a period of soul searching. It will be a period of consultation. It will be a period of listening to the people, such that the policies of the state would be tuned around the needs of the people. It should not be a festival to just waste money, to have a convoy of 80-something gas guzzlers spending money unnecessarily. This is supposed to be a solemn occasion. wherein we soul search and look at the problems and find solutions. But this is not looking for solutions. This is not even trying to identify the problems. What they do is go around and politic and try to sell the president's agenda so that the president could be voted for again. And that is the illegality in the whole thing. I mean, you take a legal activity and turn it into something illegal. And that's what they do. And the test is, look at 2021. It was an election year. They spent $45 million out of $6 million that was approved.
So what do you reckon they will spend in 2025, which is a year before
already the padding has been done, because what's been asked for in Parliament, I think, was 50 million, and what was approved was 45 million. For heaven's sake!
Do you think they will only stop at spending 45?
No, the trend is, when one is approved, you spend 500%. So 500% really of 50 million would take us maybe to 500 million. So we don't know what is going to happen. But this is the kind of waste that I am decrying every day. Our hospitals are poorly equipped. Our educational system is terrible. Kids are failing exams by more than half of those who sit to the exams. The youths have no opportunities other than to go to the back way, even though they know that it's Barcelona or Barsaha. And they prefer Barcelona or Barsaha to staying here without opportunities. We are subjecting Gambian workers to the indignities of poverty. We are forcing our police to accept bribes. We are forcing civil servants to be corrupt. They are all victims of the system because the system is not taking care of them. The system is only taking care of those at the top. How could anyone even justify? Look at the money they spent on the vehicles for the OIC, $15 million, 1 ton waste. Compare that with Jammeh, who chose to hire vehicles for 53 African heads of states. In this particular instance, how many heads of states showed up? 5. And you spent $15 million. This is waste. That's why I call it a misappropriation or misprioritization, for want of a better word, of the meager resources that we have.
On the issue of low wages for civil servants, I suppose you heard about is it 70% progressive increase of salaries for the civil servants?
But that is
something, isn't it?
That is nothing.
Nothing?
That is nothing. They're playing on people's minds. Okay, and let's look at it. The president was earning something like 200 and something thousand. They upgraded it, bam, to $500,000. If someone earns $3,000 and you give them a 30% increase, that is a $1,000 increase, and the person would now earn $4,000. What is $4,000 in today's Gambia? The bread basket is at least $18,000 a month. If you don't pay a Gambian $18,000 a month, you are subjecting them to acute poverty.
Wow, so living wage is $18,000 per month.
Yes, and we could do the maths. A reasonable 2-3 bedroom house would cost you $8,000 a month. A bag of rice, good rice, would cost you $3,000. You are already $11,000. You haven't eaten yet. You haven't paid school fees. You haven't paid transport to go to work.
And you haven't even sorted Mr. Nawek out.
Exactly. and Mr. Nawek nowadays surcharges you. The moment you put in your cash power, they take away money. They take away money from it. I don't even know whether that is legal.
Why? Why would they take money away from it?
That's what happens. If you put in $500, it goes 500, then it goes down to, say, maybe 350 or 400.
Really?
This is what I understand from people.
Oh, dear,
what is responsible for that, I don't know. But that, if we look into it, borders into some illegality, because you are buying a particular quantity. That quantity should not be reduced. So these are problems in the system. We should strive to build a fair and just society, a society in which every Gambian should have the opportunity to live and live a decent life. We should not leave the issue of a decent life to only those at the top. This is what we have today. The system is so skewed, is so organized to benefit mainly those at the top. And if every sector that you look at everything is basically rigged. I mean, that's why I call the Gambian civil servants as the victims of the system, because it's only those at the top who benefit. The rest, they languish in poverty. This is all, it's very bad news.
It is.
But that's why we are here. Sobeya is here. APP Sobeya is here. Because we want to change the system. We want the system to work for the Gambian people. We want the system to work for the ordinary folk. I mean, these people, they tell us that, oh, Gambian hospitals are better than hospitals in the West. Since they went to power, they've never visited Gambian hospitals. People are lying in hospital grounds.
And the budget caters for treatment overseas for them.
Yes, but also they have a system to assist Gambians to go abroad. But it's mainly reserved for party supporters. If you're not a party supporter, you are unlikely to benefit. In fact, a lot of people are told, oh, your polling station did not work for you. Because if they would have lost, say, in a particular polling station, the people in that area are bound to suffer. They're not going to benefit from it. This is terrible. We should build a society that is equal, a society based on equality. There is no Gambian who is more deserving of development than the other Gambian. We are all equal. And that is why it is important to have a rule of law government, a government that bases decisions mainly on the law.
This government says it is a rule of law government.
But let's examine it. That is not the case. Recently, we've just heard that this secular migration agreement we had with Spain, the job openings, some of them are being sold. That's what we heard in the news.
That is true. That is
all
true.
right?
That is true.
But that is the tip of the iceberg. I have seen documents suggesting that, well, a particular political party can give you a position and you pay certain, how would I call it? You pay certain fees to that political party on a continuing basis. These things are illegal. But the mere fact that supporters of a particular political party are being favored against the rest of the Gambians is illegal discrimination.
Would you like to name that party?
You see, I don't like the habit of unnecessarily pointing fingers at particular named individuals. I don't like, but they know themselves. They know what they are doing. Okay. And it's got to be those who have the power and the latitude to do so. Yeah. Obviously, APP Sobeya are not dishing out jobs to Spain, but I would have thought that a serious government would focus on how to create these opportunities for Gambians at home. Instead of sending Gambian youths to pluck apples and oranges in Spain, they could have been so organized to be farming their own apples and oranges in Gambia and be harvesting their own apples and oranges and sending them abroad, instead of sending Gambians to go and do slave work.
Let me ask you this question. I'm building up to something. What do you think about, all this chatter around Mbemba Drame, this former NPP supporter who made extraordinary revelations on Kirfatu?
It's the chickens have come home to roost. You do something bad, you think it will never come out, someday it will come out.
You believe him?
I believe him. Look, I have never seen a society in which 90% of the registered voters turned out to vote.
You've never?
I have never seen it. And I have traveled around the world. I have been to many places. I have never seen it. So that tells us something, okay? But the illegality surrounding Barrow's election was done in broad daylight for everyone to see. And the evidence has been presented, it's only been ignored or disregarded.
It's interesting. Let me introduce someone else into the conversation. The first Deputy National President of the ruling NPP, Dr. Demba Sabally, has told this program that every Gambian should demand proof of any claim of illegality in the 2021 presidential election, which returned President Barrow to power. Dr. Sabally, who doubles as Agriculture Minister, spoke to me in the wake of former NPP loyalists extraordinary claim that he was part of a small team that rigged the 2021 votes to keep Barrow in power. Appearing on the online news platform Kirfatu, Mbemba Drame, after making his accusations against his former party, promised that he would elaborate on his claims in the coming months. Well, Dr. Sabally dismissed the allegations as nonsense and warned the claims should be concerning to every Gambian, including the UDP, who went to court over the outcome of the election in question.
I was at the IEC for over 48 hours during the counting of and tabulation and announcement of the election results. The victory of His Excellency President Barrow is as clear as white. And the election system in this country is rig-proof. You cannot steal the election. Elections are local. You go in, your registration is verified, you go and vote. Every party has its agent sitting there. The IEC is there, the police are there. Votes are counted and tabulated and agreed upon by all these agents, signed off on paper and posted right there locally. And that is why the political parties even know the results even before the IEC. And no political party has disputed the numbers. Yes, UDP went to court. They lost the case based on so many other factors. However, even UDP did not dispute the numbers. They may dispute circumstances, which probably, if they had gone to court, they will talk about it. They say we gave cooking pots to some YI companies. Those were among their evidences. I was among the people.
As well as inducement to vote
exactly,
for the NPP?
as inducement. But look, which political party has not given anything to any vote? We did not give them cooking pots for them to vote for us. And they were not done within the campaign period. We are fully aware of the limits of the law. And NPP conducted itself 100% within the limits of the law. So for somebody like Mbemba, who was never an NPP executive member.
This guy who went on an interview to say that he was part of this team that rigged the election.
Exactly. Mbemba has never been an NPP executive member, either at national level, at constituency, or regional or village. And Mbemba was not in the Gambia for the entire 2021. He was not in the Gambia 6 months before election, during election, and 6 months after the election. He was not here. The Gambian election is not digital. If he is sitting in France with other people, how can he rig a polling station in Dipakunda that voters use marbles and it was counted on the spot and the results were posted for public viewing? It's unheard of. I mean, I cannot use any adjective to describe, the mindset of the man when he was talking. However, the case is under investigation and the police will do justice to the Gambian people. And I want to make this thing very clear. Every genuine Gambian should be happy that Mbemba is arrested.
Why?
Because if somebody says your national election, this is not an NPP election or a UDP election, Mr. Gomez. This was a national election of the Republic of the Gambia, for which election determines the credibility of a government, of a country. If somebody says, I was part of a criminal syndicate, because to rig election is criminal. Yes. If he confesses on television that he was part of a criminal syndicate that rigged our election, our Gambian election, not MPP election, not President Barrow election, rigged our Gambian election, I am surprised to see UDP people celebrating him. UDP people should treat him as a criminal because this is not an NPP election. I mean, a couple of parties, independent candidates went to election. They should all now be happy that the man is arrested and be investigated. Let the country get the clear evidence that, okay, this election was rigged. Or get the clear evidence that the man has lost his mind. That he has no evidence. He's just talking out of anger or any other reason.
Well, he's promised that in due time, he will provide the evidence.
Well, there's no better time than now that he's arrested and the police are investigating. This is the best time for him to prove. We are looking forward to the proof as NPP. And I know His Excellency President Barrow, as our party leader, is looking forward to the proof. Because we know 100% that this election was as clear as any election you can get. And the credibility is 100% and the victory is unquestioned.
According to Demba Sabally, Essa, this election was as clear as white, as clear as any election you can get. So all these allegations of vote rigging.
I am really shocked by what he said, but I'm not too surprised for the simple fact that he is expected to say anything in defense of the government that he works for. This is a bread and butter issue for him. That's why I say that some of these public officials have no love for Gambia. Their first love is to themselves, and therefore they would say things that benefit them. But everybody saw during election time the cooking pots and the milling machines.
He says they were never meant for inducement, and he asked which party didn't give anything.
But that is also not true. We gave football jerseys for Nawetan at one stage.
One would say to induce those Nawetan players to vote for you.
But that was not even connected to elections. And I was not even aware of it. I was told later. Okay? That was just to help youths. But during election time, on IEC election itinerary, because they were following me, I was ahead and they are behind me. I go to a place and they would come thereafter.
To undo whatever you did there.
And that is exactly what they did. And I complained to IEC. I complained to observers. I complained to Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan.
And what was done about it?
You know what they said? You know, my brother, your own time will come. You see, you are young, so wait. But you see, this is African politics. This is our culture.
Really?
And I said, but this is against the law. This is bribery. It's not just inducement. This is bribery. It's a crime under the laws of this country. And people should have been arrested. But nothing happened. In Gambia, they will clap for you when you break the law, especially when you are in power. And that is exactly what happened. And my brother, these are the same people who were complaining against the same thing during Jammeh's time. What happened to electoral reform in Gambia? We've been saying it since before Solo Sandeng. Solo Sandeng paid dearly with his life for this. Barrow was supposedly part of them. Did he give us electoral reform? No. Even the constitution is being doctored against the aspirations of the Gambian people just to help entrench the UDP government, the NPP government in power. I beg your pardon. The NPP government in power. And that, you see, these things are immoral policies. Our first priority should be what the Gambian people want. What is best for our people.
I want your thought on his argument that this fellow, this member, Drame chap, was not even in the Gambia when the election was taking place. He wasn't here six months before. He wasn't here when people went to the polls. He wasn't here even 6 months after the election result was declared.
It will take a very brave person or a delusional person to make the claims that he made if he did not have anything. But why are they so jittery? Why are they so scared?
The integrity of our election is at stake here. I mean, nobody wants the election.
You see, if nothing untoward was done, nobody would have any reason to be scared. And the tactics that were used at the police were just intended to intimidate. But in time, the truth would come. But let me tell you something about elections in Gambia. When I did my LLB dissertation, I thought that elections in the Gambia cannot be stolen.
Well, he said
at the vote.
Demba Sabali said elections in the Gambia are rig-proof.
But that is not true. In fact, for me, my agents, they did everything possible to disperse my agents, including telling them that Essa Mbye Faal was paid $1,500 per agent. And my agents disappeared simply because they were given false information suggesting that I stole their money when we use our own funds to pay our agents $300 each. I mean, if a person is paid $300 and they were told that you pay, I was painted as a thief, and a lot of these people just melted away simply and that is, if you don't have an agent present, you cannot protect your vote. And let me tell you, and for them, the marble is convenient because once the marble is out of the box, it is vulnerable. Who does it belong to? So, therefore, because there is no traceability, it is convenient to stick to the marble. Why don't they bring us the ballot in which the vote, even if I are taken out of the box, would still be the vote for a particular individual.
Because that particular individual's face would be on it.
And would be marked. But they wouldn't want that. That's why we're not going to get electoral reform. And the other part of the rigging of the system is the refusal to give the diaspora the right to exercise their right to vote. The court did say that all Gambians, wherever you live, you have a right to vote in presidential elections. Up to now, nothing has been done about exercising the diaspora right to vote. And we are going to take them to court to force them to ensure that the diasporans are giving their rights to vote. These are people who are responsible for 70% of GDP. But they are the people who are less regarded by this regime. These are the people who are often maligned and insulted by this regime, and they are the backbone. They are the people responsible for this country staying afloat. They are more important than foreign domestic investment. Foreign direct investment, I meant to say.
Let's move on because, in as much as, you're attacking them, Demba Sabally has also been on the attack. What I played you was just an excerpt from a 100-minute long conversation, which I recorded at the weekend with Dr. Sabally, touching on politics and agriculture, given he's both Deputy National President of the ruling NPP and Minister of Agriculture. Tomorrow, I intend to play you a bigger slice featuring his response to charges made against the NPP-led government in the past weeks by the GFA and UDP leaders on this program, which he obviously keenly follows. He launches his own scathing attacks on the GDC leader he was once a disciple of, as well as the 4 mayors and local council chairmen elected from the UDP, and of course, Essa Mbye Faal, after the statements he made at the end of his Congress.
If not for a humble person like President Adama Barrow, if we have opposition elements like Mama Kande, Usainu Dabo, of course not fringe elements like Essa Faal or the others, who are just on the periphery. These opposition
Essa Faal sees himself as the next president.
Well, he is delusional, so it's understandable. It's okay for him to say those things. The guy had less than 1% of the votes. We have 900,000 registered voters. In fact, 1% is 90,000, and he did not even get 90,000. He lost even Kersering where he lives. There's not a single polling station in the entire 1,881 polling stations in the Gambia. He did not even win one polling station. And he thinks he can be president.
He even suggests Essa Mbye Faal doesn't know his country well.
Essa Faal cannot even name you a village after Tabokoto. If you cross Bara, he cannot tell you the next village after Bara. And you think he can be president. President of where?
I think I am happy that delusional sounds like me. I think delusional has a new meaning. But you see, I wouldn't respond to Dr. Sabally. I will give him some respect. Respect that he hasn't accorded me. But I am thankful to God that the world does not see me as delusional. In fact, one of the most important cases at the International Criminal Court was given to me to handle after several years of effort by the ICC that yielded no result. And thanks to God, in a matter of months, I produced great results that this government is for which this government is trying to steal the credit. But I don't blame them. I also worked on one of the most important cases in the world, the case that shook the world, the warrant of arrest that shook the world. I worked on that.
Which one was that?
Well, the Palestine. So if I am regarded as delusional and not knowing my country, I think Dr. Sabally should do his homework. My father taught around the country, so I traveled the country. He should recall that during COVID, I was the first person to go around, the only person actually, who went around the country helping Gambians from Banjul to Basekatong to Koina. So it is him who really doesn't know his facts. Yes, I lost elections and I lost very badly. And I'm humbled by it. But it was a lesson in
Has it
life.
made you a better politician? I was going to ask.
I think it did. I have learned a lot. Something I did not know. I did not realize that our people would stake their lives on elections. I went through a lot. I was followed around by their Marabu, doing everything against me.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it is recorded on video. Everybody saw it in this country. The thing that was what was done to me by the NVP is out there. Even the people that are being paid up to this moment to attack me and my family and malign me is out there. Whenever I say something that hits them, that is what they do. But you see, I am not perturbed by all these things. This is just the beginning. Call me fringe, call me delusional. That is fine. The Gambian people don't see me as that. The Gambian people are seeing me as the solution to Gambia's problems. And the solution is going to come, whether they like it or not. This wanton waste in which they are involved in, this self-serving approach they have taken to government, fixing themselves, taking themselves out of utter poverty into absolute riches is going to end. And believe you me, there will be the day of accountability. And then Gambians would ask them what they have done with the resources of this country.
Okay. And this is assuming Sobeya APP comes to power whenever that is. Tell me about this alliance with APP. Is Sobeya a party or a movement?
APP Sobeya is now a fully fledged registered political party.
Okay.
We went into a merger with APP, and there are other organizations that join us, including amongst them is an organization called Empowered. There's a movement called Mass Demonstration. There's another organization called National Alliance for Change. There's another National Development Association. And there's a party that is being registered, Gambia Reform and Change Party, that also joined us in this alliance. So this is some form of a grand merger, pretty much, called APP Sobeya. So if they think we are fringe, they don't know what is coming after them. Let them just wait. And they should go around the country and take the mood of the country. 77% of Gambians are not happy with what is happening. These are not just statistics. These are the voices of desperate women. These are the voices of hopeless youths.
Demasabali had an answer to that. He said, whoever did the survey, he said he could even give me a survey with figures suggesting that 99% of Gambians are unhappy. He says if you go to an opposition stronghold, all right, and poll them, what do you expect?
Look.
And likewise, he said he could go to, places in the Gambia where he would get 100% satisfaction with the way the country is being run.
But that is just spinning. He is just saying things for the sake of saying them. But that is not true. If you want to know the reality of Gambia, go to the market and ask the market women, those who are selling and those who are buying. Gambian women would go to the market and get lost in there, not knowing which direction to go or what to buy, because there is hardly enough to buy all the things that they need for a squared meal for their family. Go to the schools. The children, a lot of them are unable to pay school fees. Go anywhere in this country. The damage done by the NPP government is there for everybody to see. Every sector in this country is in deep trouble. You can only say that a few ministers are performing, like education and so forth. And even in education, this gentleman is just being made to manage a very terrible system.
Professor Pierre Gomez, you're referring to?
Yes, he is being made to manage a very bad system, a system that is not working for us. It is education that was a system that was intended mainly to help us be able to count and be able to write reports. It's not a system.
And be able to memorize.
Exactly. It's not a system that is intended to help us solve problems. Gambia needs a system of education that is tuned towards solving problems. Look.
And that's the kind of system that Sobeya APP will introduce. What else is Sobeya APP promising Gambians?
All People's Party.
Yes.
We want to bring hope to Gambians. We want to move from despair to hope. We want to bring a fair system. a just system in which the national resources are allocated on the basis of the needs of this country and not on the basis of what would gratify particular individuals. We are focused on solving the problems of Gambians and not solving our personal problems as we have seen. Instead of putting the national resources for travels of the president and his entourage or on wasteful projects, we want to make the little resources we have work for the Gambian people. We want to invest in youths, we want to invest in women. We want to bring about a situation in which Gambian youths would qualify as world citizens, in that they would have the kind of skills and training that would make them relevant for the 21st century. Wherever they go, they'll be able to get jobs, and Gambians who travel abroad will not be deported because they will be needed. Because we would have equipped them with what is needed to be good global citizens in the 21st century.
And how would you deal with the issue of corruption? Because now what you hear is, oh, Gambians, we are innately corrupt.
No, we are not innately corrupt. That is not true. But what is happening is, those at the lower ends are being compelled to be corrupt because we are subjecting them to the indignities of poverty, because we are not paying them enough. If people are not paid livable wages, they would find a means to survive for the next
But
day.
how would you correct that? Okay, granted, people at the very top are earning, embarrassing sums. People at the very bottom are barely making anything. You are not going to cut the earnings of people at the very cut to balance out, those at the very bottom.
You know how they did it? You know how they did it?
How did they do it?
They put in the law that the salaries and emoluments of particular public officials shall not be varied to their disadvantage.
Exactly. So how are you going to deal with that?
I'll repeal that provision. And
is it repealable?
Yes, it is repealable. Every law is repealable except for entrenched clauses in the Constitution. Even that, they are repealable. You just have to use the right approach, which is go for a referendum. But in this case, simple act of parliament, provisions are repealable. We have to create a balance in the system. Remember 1983 to 85.
Is it the ERP?
We had the ERP and government had to correct the system. And we did.
It led to a lot of, a huge loss of jobs.
Yes, but also not in a very painful way. People were compensated. So for us, what we'll do, we'll bring training, retraining or reschooling people, giving them opportunities and financing that opportunities. But what we need is a strong, lean and professional public service of highly qualified people at every level, and they are paid adequately well, such that they'll be focused on delivering on their mandates instead of trying to fend for the next departure.
But that will only lead to debt. If you want to increase the wages of people, you'll have to go out and borrow.
No, that may not be necessary. Look, do you recall a report that said that there were almost over 2,000 ghost workers?
Yes.
And so there is a lot of waste in the system.
And they're trying to figure out those ghost workers.
Exactly. So we have to have a civil service audit. Maybe they'll be afraid to do that now.
That is currently on, we are told.
Well, that's what we are told.
That's what we are
but
told,
we
yes.
need a full audit and know who is there. And the civil service would need to be reorganized. Who is there? Are they qualified for the jobs that they're being given? Provide them with training and remove the dead wood. And that way you make savings. But you don't just drive people out of work. That would be absolutely wrong. What you do is you examine and determine what these people are very good at. In what could they succeed? And you provide them with training and resources and get them to do that.
What would you do with NAWEC? Because NAWEC is actually contributing to the indebtedness of the country and the lack of foreign currency. Because they pay for the energy they sell to you and me in foreign currency.
And to be quite candid, I honestly do not know how could NAWEC be losing money. But they are constantly.
So what would you do about NAWEC?
I will change the system. I will capitalize on what Gambia does not need to pay for. beyond the initial investment. I would move from this current system to mainly renewable energy. We don't have to pay for the sun. So after the initial investment, well, the rest would be a whole lot cheaper. It would amortize over time. But this NAWEC has to be scrapped. We have to dismantle NAWEC and have a company.
They call it unbundle. They are in the process of unbundling water from electricity, from transmission, from generation.
Look, call it unbundle. That is a nice word to use, probably not to scare people, but the reality is NAWEC should be disbanded. What we need is a new company that would invest on the grid, and then we also invest in other companies that would give us different kinds of energy, be it wind, be it solar, and be it this electricity that we have.
We seem to have parted ways with Semlex. Security Port is still here. How would you handle it?
You see, it's an offense to our sovereignty to give these services to foreign companies, especially foreign companies that are renowned to be dubious. Reports are out there that link Semlex to massive corruption. I understand that the same goes for Security Port, even though I'm not too sure about it.
So what would you do about Security Port?
I will not mortgage the sovereignty of this country to any country or organization. Security Port contract would have to end. A lot of these contracts that Gambia government has would have to be renegotiated because a lot of them are not in the best interest of the Gambian people.
Well,
and it would not end there.
One seems to be doing well, although,
Which one?
SIGPA.
Which is SIGPA?
SIGPA is the one working with the GRA and, of course...
my friend, what are they giving us that Gambian companies cannot give us? Nothing. That's why I say it is an affront to Gambia's sovereignty for us to be giving these services to foreign companies. So we have Gambians who are capable of doing this, both in Gambia and in abroad. We should be focusing on empowering Gambians to deliver services that would take this country to the next level. If we continue giving these things to foreigners, we continue to wallow behind. Look at our waters. Our marine resources are almost mortgaged to Chinese companies and the EU. How much are we getting from it? How much protein are Gambians getting from? Now, fish is more expensive than chicken.
You're lucky if you see fish.
Precisely
Some
the point.
days women go to the market and they come and tell you, "Take their mom." And
this is why we should take back our national resources, put them firmly in the hands of Gambians and get them to work for the benefit of Gambian people. But you see, it's easier for the corruption to deal with foreign companies. Look at even the issuance of fishing licenses. The day that bit is audited, there would be chaos in this country because a lot of it is shrouded in massive corruption.
Oh, wow.
So we have to change. That's why the Sobeya party is fighting to take the reins of power from these people, such that all the national resources would be put to work for the Gambian people. We haven't yet spoken about the oil. What is happening about the oil?
We can't fit. What do the Wolof say? We'll have to reserve that for another day. The UDP held a congress yesterday in Banjul. We sent a reporter there. He filed a report. Unfortunately, Essa Mbye Faal has gobbled up all the time and more because we are 15 minutes into the next program. How would you like to, bring this conversation to an end? I'll give you 60 minutes. 60 seconds, not minutes.
The current state of affairs is a very sad one. Clearly, Gambians are not happy. Everybody is suffering from this terrible mess that we have been put in. But hope is in the horizon. We are going to bring about change in this country. If they think that this is delusional talk or the rantings of a fringe personality, they don't know what is coming after them. Let them go around the country and see what is happening. Gambians are yearning for change. Gambians are tired of terrible hospitals. These are death traps. Gambians are tired of the high cost of living. Gambians are tired of the massive escalation in prices on a daily basis. Gambians are tired of the cabal of few people who control everything in the country, and small businesses and other entities are marginalized, or the stakes are, or the situation is so created that they cannot move, they cannot get on, they cannot get by. This state capture will come to an end. Gambians are yearning for a government that can bring about the rule of law in this country instead of the rule of those who are powerful. Gambians are yearning for a situation where they would wake up and say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, there is peace, progress, and prosperity. What we have today is massive despair. Sobeya APP government will bring about that. And the Gambians are hopeful. They know that we are the solution, and the solution is coming. Thank you, Peter.
Essa Mbye Faal, thank you very much for your time this morning, and that's it for this edition of Coffee Time. Tomorrow, we will bring you more of Dr. Sabali. We will also bring you the UDP Biennial Congress. We'll have Al Bayrak here talking about the deep sea port project in Sanyang.